What's up, fellow internet denizens? We're not quite sure exactly when our cat Dally was born, but we know that it is her 5th birthday at some point this year, so I have decided to give her a wonderful birthday gift. You see, I've never really been able to understand her, and she's not very good at picking up commands aside from fetch and off, so why not create a language that could be spoken by cats? If they choose to be understood, that is. I won't fault Dally if she chooses to remain inscrutable. This will by no means be serious, but it's a thought experiment, so let's have fun.
Cat likes to rock and roll.
Conlanging, or inventing your own language, is an ancient art dating back at least as far as Hildegard von Bingen's Lingua Ignota. Usually, these constructed languages are intended for humans, or at least creatures with similar mouths to humans, such as Twi'lek, Klingons, or elves. However, sometimes you have a creature with a vastly different mouth shape that cannot make the same noises that humans can. Take Wookiees, for example. A Wookiee is a large, hairy fellow with a language consisting mostly of deceptively complex tonal roars. Most Wookiees cannot make the same sounds that we can because of their mouth shape, but there is a rare exception in a couple of books in the expanded universe, though that's a discussion for another time. What's important is that Wookiees probably have a vastly different version of the IPA that corresponds with the sounds that they make, as opposed to what humans or Twi'lek or Hutts make. The same is going to be the same for cats. Let's look at the human mouth. This is a cross-section diagram used by linguists to denote what sounds could be made in what parts of the human mouth. Cats are different from humans anatomy-wise, so I have asked my veterinarian friend to provide me with a similar chart, but with a cat's mouth. As you can see, the chart is a little flatter than I imagined it would be, and I assume that not many people have studied the sounds that a cat can make. I have modified said chart to make it a bit better to understand. As you can see, cats aren't able to make as many sounds as we are. Their tongues have evolved more for grooming and drinking than for making complicated sounds like fricatives or trills, and they don't seem to have a velum, but they do have an extra area where they can make a new sound. I cannot find any consensus on exactly how cats purr, but it's believed that they make this noise by doing a sort of vocal fry with fatty pads around their larynx. I am adding this tilde symbol to mean voiced lipolaryngeal trill, a word that I made up just now to mean purring and I'm never going to bring up again, because it is a mouthful. I will be audibly representing it with an alveolar trill, or r. This consonant can be syllabic, meaning that it can act as a vowel sometimes, kind of like the R in water. I'm now going to narrow down all of these sounds to just what I've heard my cat make. I don't have any recordings of Dally speaking because it's not like she could just meow on command, so you'll just have to trust me on this. This leaves us with h, ne, r, y, w, f, h, e, a, o, a, ow. This is not a lot of phonemes. How will we be able to differentiate words and syllables? Well, my friends, this is where the tones come in. I speak relatively flat, and I already have to force myself to sound more expressive sometimes, like on YouTube or even in casual conversation. That's all to say that I've never been good at tones. However, Dally clearly means different things when she purrs r versus r, and I've never made a fully tonal conlang before, so why not? Let's add high, mid, low, low rising, and high falling tones. Just your standard tone set. Syllables will be consonant vowel only. I also won't be putting clicks next to purrs because that is a nightmare to pronounce if you do not have fatty pads around your larynx that you can vibrate at will. So let's start with the basic vocabulary. Dally is an indoor cat, and for nouns I am only including things that she has seen recently inside the house or just outside her favorite window, like frogs or the neighbor's dog. Here are some simple adjectives, prepositions, nouns, and verbs. Here are the numbers, which I made base 4 because most cats only have 4 beans on their paws. In addition to this basic vocabulary, I am including a couple of cat-specific behaviors. I have no idea what the proper scientific term for this is, but my family has always called it mixing butter, but I've also heard it called making biscuits or kneading. This is when a cat purrs loudly and presses their paws into you repeatedly as a sign of affection. This action will be called mrr. The other cat-specific word I am using is fetch toy, or a toy that my cat has arbitrarily deemed worthy to play fetch with. These are indistinguishable from normal toys, but they seem to have the following criteria. It fits in Dally's mouth, and it might make noise, but it doesn't have to. She treats these toys much differently from her normal toys. We will be using the word for fetch toys. Grammar is never as fun as vocabulary for me. However, let's make it a tad more interesting by adding gender into the mix. Grammatical gender is not so much an indicator of a noun's gender identity or sexuality, and more of an arbitrary classifier, kind of like Chinese or Japanese. counters. For example, some languages have two genders, but instead of masculine or feminine, these indicate whether something is animate or inanimate. Burushaski has a gender for countable versus uncountable nouns, as well as masculine and feminine, so they have 4 genders in total. Several Bantu languages have at least 10 genders. CUTEST will have just 2 grammatical genders, like Spanish. However, these will be things that I can sit on, which we will suffix with e, and things that I cannot sit on, which we will suffix with a. There's a secret third subcategory here, which is things that I can sit on, but I will get yelled at for doing so. Objects like keyboards or the kitchen table, which will be suffixed with a. My reasoning here is that the average cat cares more about whether or not you are cozy than about whether you're animate, inanimate, countable, femme, plural, or anything like that. Speaking of plurals, I was thinking about doing away with that entirely. Dally doesn't have time to think about plurals. She's a busy girl. We also won't have articles because I find those annoying. Also, look at that face. Do you think that there are articles behind those eyes? I don't think so. Tense will only be past and present. Past will be indicated with the suffix a. If you want to make new words, you put 2 morphemes together, kind of like in German. For example, tasty would be food good, or yawe. Toe bean would be small paw, or rau. And bath would be evil water, or wah, yeah. Ugh, you know what time it is? It's syntax time. Syntax is annoying, but this is going to be relatively simple. We are going to be doing verb, subject, object here, simply because I have never done that before. Adjectives come before nouns and have to agree with the noun's gender. Prepositions act as prefixes on the object they refer to. Let's start with a simple sentence that my cat will probably use very often. A scary bug is on the wall. To be is ye, scary is wo, ah, and bug is meh, ah, because scary bugs cannot be sat on, as opposed to normal bugs. On is fa, and wall is hie ah. The resulting sentence is ye wo ah ple ah ba hie ah. Let's try another example sentence. A frog jumped onto the window. Jump is frr, past tense is ah. Frog is wo ah, because Dally cannot sit on something that is outside the window, and frogs have only ever existed outside the window. On is fa, and window is ye ah. This results in frr ah, wo ah, fa ye ah. Now let's do something a little different. I will make imperatives just the verb but reduplicated. Our example sentence here is going to be get off the kitchen counter. To go is hie, and reduplicated it will be hie hie. Off is wo, and kitchen counter is wo, with the gender because cats should not sit on the counter, but they technically can. This will result in the sentence hie hie wo I'm only just now realizing how dumb this sounds, but who cares? This is fun. I can see you. You're having fun. Finally, let's make probably the most complex sentence that a cat can handle. Do you want to play fetch? To indicate wanting to do something, you use to want, or rao, as a prefix to the verb that you want to do. And you end questions and polite requests with yeah. So want is rao, to play is yeah. Second person singular, or you, is wa, and since you are a person close to the speaker and therefore can be sat on, we end that with fr is fetch toy, of course. And of course you can sit on a fetch toy. That's how cats show they like things. Put this all together and we get rao yeah. Wa fr yeah. If I were to ask this question to Dally, however, it would be rao yeah wa fr yeah, because I cannot sit on cat. That would be silly. Dally, are you even listening? Aw, we lost her. She's sleeping. Well, what did we learn from this? Probably that I suck at tones and clicks. If you like this language, feel free to expand upon it. Make your own rules, use it on your cat, maybe even use it in your daily interactions just to mess with people. I've been Alien Daydreamer, and I am out. Bye!